Hey guys, so the past few days I have been stalking Korea to see how the meta has shifted, and we've got a few newer picks that become a lot more popular and powerful in 7.16. There is a list of the champions in the description, and I'm sure somebody will copy paste in the comments anyway, but let's get into our first mentions. These ones aren't necessarily new, I guess, but they are the standout champions right now over in Korea. Janna is the first one, still the most overpowered champion in the game there. She's got like a close to 60% win rate in some elo brackets. People actually give a first tower blood to her instead of the AD carry so she can get answers quicker sometimes. It's insane. She is banned in 70% of games right now, almost as many as Kassadin, and a Blitzcrank is actually just below her. On to others, Jackson Kane are getting really popular right now. Tristana is the new Caitlyn, very popular and very strong. Malzahar is still a beast, and Shyvana is really good in the jungle, especially at lower ranks. If we move on to our proper new overpowered picks though, I can't believe I'm actually going to say this, but Vayne in Korean bronze and silver is a beast. She's decent in gold and above as well, but not quite that level. She is the most played champion in bronze and silver as well, and still has a decent win rate, kind of for Vayne at least. Vayne always has a lower win rate than other champions because people play her who are awful at her and don't stop because she's fun. It's kind of weird actually, but she's winning a lot of games versus Draven and weaker AD carries at the moment. Tristana is about even, which is good, but mainly it's a tank meta, right? And she's a tank buster. Looking at how the Koreans play her, the build is Shiv first into Infinity Edge and then either Phantom Dancer or Rapid Fire Cannon. Rapid Fire is more damage, but PD is more kiting and dueling basically. They normally get a Blade of the Ring King or a Mercurial Scimitar afterwards for their lifesteal and a Guardian Angel. We go in Warlords because we have enough damage with their crit build already, and the normal AD runes with some attack speed in the blues. It's really all about holding on early and then scaling into a monster. Games tend to be very bloody at lower ranks, but they don't end very fast, so you get your items and you can carry eventually. She is one of the best late game champions at the moment, and lower elo games tend to be three things. One, they are longer. Two, they have more kills, which means more items in the game. And three, they have worse focus, meaning you can actually go full ham. The biggest change actually though is not really to Vayne, it's probably to Gangplank this patch, up from barely scraping into the top 20 for top lane champions and now around number 5. Again, he is a late game hero, right? It's actually quite difficult to lose a game as Gangplank if it gets to 6 items. Apparently, so far this patch after a few days, if you get to 40 minutes into a game, you have a 75% chance to win. You outrange everybody with your barrels, like one barrel and an ultimate in the middle, that is a dead carry, right? And it's game over for the enemy team. Champions he can outscale, like Rumble and Renekton for example, tend to be quite easy, but Jarvan is pretty good at taking a dump on you in the lane phase. Riven can be kind of hard as well. It's a little bit of a skill matchup apparently. The funniest thing is, this is actually lethality abuse, which I bet you didn't expect. Duskblade Gangplank is the most popular with a Ghostblade. Obviously Trinity Force first, but lethality afterwards is reliable damage. Crit is either really good or really bad damage wise, depending on if you crit or not. We obviously do go crit after lethality, but Sterix is also very popular because it increases your Sheen proc damage on barrels and some defense. Thunderlords and 80 runes are the way to go, and by the way, most people actually start Mana Crystal now and refillable instead of Adoran's Ring. Mostly it's just a farm it up for late game type of pick, and he's always kind of been actually. He's just better now. Games seem to be going a bit later, and he can solo carry almost by himself. Gangplank is just a really high damage champion, right? You can do a bit more mid game with this lethality build, but even just stacking crit, he will eventually take over. It's very hard to play against, and even decent against tanks, honestly. If we go from one lethality abuser to another though, Nocturne has shown up this patch in Korea, even though the most popular build is still actually this weird Infinity Edge one. With some crit, Nocturne can do insane damage late game. He farms very well. He does okay early, ganks are decent with his ultimate, but late game he is a beast. It's not that much of a surprise that he can come back now with Duskblade. Like, other carry junglers got nerfed as well, and there are a lot of low health champions around for him to ult into and kill. He's also very good against the meta stuff. Lee Sin, Kayn, Kha'Zix, Elise as well. Harder against tanks, I guess, but those meta ones he's really good against. Build wise, we have two options. More normal is the Warrior, Duskblade, and Ghostblade. The Korean special though is Warrior into Shiv and Infinity Edge. Lethality is obviously early game burst and damage and stuff. Crit is still okay mid game, but it's beast late game. We are back to Thunderlords now, not Fervor anymore or Storm Raiders, and most go lethality reds, CDR blues with attack speed quints and armor yellows for their runes. You just have to remember with Nocturne that you're pretty sick at 2 items with your ultimate, then you're going to struggle a little bit to steal one burst people until late game, so good early, dips mid game a little bit, and then awesome late. I think he is a really good damage pick though. That's pretty easy to play. He farms well, guaranteed gank with his ultimate, right? But to be honest, he's just really good at dueling people. You have your fear, you can block damage with your W, which also gives you some attack speed, and you have an AD steroid from your Q. Now it seems like Korea's answer to Kassadin and the tank meta is going to be Vel'Koz, who shot up at the start of this patch. Your passive does a chunk of true damage, right? A 3 stack, so it doesn't matter how much magic resist a tank is built, it's going to ignore it, and you also get Liandry's, which is percentage burn anyway. You have a really unique champion here where he can dumpster people early in the lane phase and then carry with a burst, or he just kind of waits for his late game build and his damage is insane as well. Not many champions champions have both early and late. Matchup wise, Orianna and Syndra aren't really that fun for you at the moment, at least in Korea, but he destroys Kassadin over there and most other matchups actually. Build wise, we have Morello into Liandry's or Luden's, Void Staff, Rylai's, Banshees, just loads of penetration and a lot of damage. It's a really standard setup though, which makes it easy to get into for runes and masteries. You're going to max your W first and you'll have good wave clear and poke, and remember, you can bully early and stomp a game, but if not, just farm up and destroy team fights instead. He's actually very hard to play against though as a champion. If you walk up to him, he's going to knock you up into a combo, and that's going to be a lot of true damage with his passive. He also has a lot of damage naturally, especially in a tank meta where 1, he can actually kill them, and 2, he can bypass them with his AoE damage and his long range ult. Now I've got another answer here with Sona as kind of Korea's answer to Janari. Nobody else has come close except this champion who basically just copies her build and stuff. Sona is like a better version of Janna mid game. Her heal is really good and her ultimate can be game changing, but late game Janna is going to overtake again. The passive on her ultimate actually lets her spam auras, remember, which is really cool. So you have decent damage, you have decent heals and shields, plus a better lane, I think. So if you play her, just like try to make plays mid game. Janna is pretty even actually matchup wise, which is kind of the best we can hope for when she's so overpowered, but doing really well against Thresh and Alistair, some more aggressive stuff, and actually defensive ones like Lulu and Soraka. The build is obviously Ardent Sensor Rush, of course, then Sightstone, Locket. Athene's is quite popular as well, and Redemption later into the game. Locket, by the way, is awesome early. Most people get it even though it scales with health because it applies sensor to everybody around you. Most of the time over here on supports, we go Moby Boots, but actually in Korea the most popular is cooldown reduction, but they get wind speakers and standard AP runes, unless you want to do that weird Korean gold cheese thing with gold Pateng Quints and yellows. I think the pick here comes down to people not wanting to play Janna or being banned actually in 70% of games, but still abusing sensor and be able to make plays as well. We've basically got a more proactive version of Janna who can do a bit more early, set up more plays, and one of the best mid-game teamfight supports actually. Okay, so not brand new, but just beyond broken this patch basically. Sejuani has played in over 10% of games at higher ranks and still has a bonkers win rate, close to the Janna level. The funny thing about this one is she is broken early to mid game, and you would think as a tank, normally that means late game fights, right? Actually, no. If it gets late game, she becomes pretty bad apparently, but early to mid, she is a monster. Matchup wise, Shyvana outscales her most, so she's actually pretty good, but Sejuani is like the ultimate meta carry counter, so she crushes Lee Sin, Kayn, Elise, Kha'Zix, and even Gragas. The build is Cinderhulk into Warmogs and then Gargoyle Stoneplate after that, so you get a crap ton of health. Thornmail afterwards, maybe a Frozen Heart. They go full tank. They don't get this Iceborne Gauntlet. They rely on her passive for damage instead. We do have Courage of the Colossus, which is pretty standard, but weird runes actually. CDR per level blues, HP per level yellows most of the time, and then we have either mixed pen reds or attack speed reds and armor or attack speed quit. So pretty weird. Your farming is pretty good in the jungle, but your ganks are disgusting actually. You got 2 suns, remember. You don't take much damage because of your passive, and you even have a mobility to dive in. You're basically like an unkillable beast for 30 minutes. That's the way you want to think about it. You can dive in, you can stun everybody, engage, deal some good damage, but you've got to end before they catch back up. Right, so now we have 2 more that are less popular, but they have really big jumps up that are least deserving a mention, if that makes sense. Singed is a really good Riven and Jax counter at the moment over in Korea. He gets early armor. He seems to just take over the game before they can really do anything about it. If I took out some of the random top lane win rates actually in the stats and stuff, he'd probably be top 5 right now overall, so he's actually really good. Most of this video has actually been about like how games are going later with the Vayne and the Gangplank and stuff, right? But this one pick actually dumpsters early and manages to close out games. Not many champions can do that properly, but he loses a lot past like 30 minutes, but he can snowball before that. The build is a big reason because we're rushing Righteous Glory, then ZZ Rot for some split push pressure into Locket, which is the most popular. It's basically amazing roam and a team fight tank build, if that makes sense. It follows with the masteries as well, back to Courage of the Colossus instead of Deathfire for damage. When you play Singed this way, he's a really good team engage pick. You do okay early and then you roam. You sprint in with your Ghost, your Ultimate and Righteous Glory, and you fling people backwards to start fights. It's really hard to play against when he's one tanky, so he doesn't die very easily, and he has grounding now on his W, so you can't even flash away. Vi is the next one who got a decent buff, and as I said in the notes, like, I think she should be pretty decent against the meta stuff right now, at least. It seems to be best around bronze and silver, by the way. Actually, in Korea, it's kind of the opposite of what I said. So she sucks against tanks and sucks early game. She's spiked up in win rate, but because past 30 minutes, she can catch and engage so well and has a lot of damage. It seems like mostly she does well against Gragas, Kayn, and Master Yi, maybe Lee Sin as well. So I guess it's kind of like squishy picks she can burst and lock down. The build makes sense with that. It's Warrior and Trinity Force, then maybe Sterix or Deadmans or Randuins after that. So a lot of damage and then kind of tanky. Both Thunlords and Courage of the Colossus are good, but pretty standard runes after that. So we've got like a good damage pick that can gank really well out every time an ultimate is off cooldown doesn't do amazing against super tanky picks though, so you might not want to pick it every game. Now that wraps up a quick look into the Korean meta for this patch. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to like if you did, but for now, I'll leave you with the robots.